What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. Out of the blue comes an awesome storyline in WWE. During the past 5 or 6 years, things just emerged from out of nowhere. Dee Bryan's WrestleMania story, Chris Jericho on the list, Edge's return, the Planet's champion, Kofi Mania. I know there are some problems with the product, in general, but a bunch of those stories were just tremendous. This one in particular was really something. For years, the Survivor Series elimination match wasn't such a big deal. The main eventers rarely participated in the matches, and there was no real incentive to watch it. 2014, though, was perfect. So let's go back to the weird time period of late 2014. Okay, if you watched during 2014, you'll notice that the Authority had a stranglehold on the entire WWE product. Another problem was even when they got their comeuppance, Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30, they still stood tall in the end. Add to the fact Stephanie McMahon was verbally abusing a bunch and never got what's coming to her. As a matter of fact, she never got her comeuppance until WrestleMania 33. And so a lot of people were annoyed by the Authority and believed that they had run their course. Raw opens here, tonight is the night, no pyro, They come out, speak for 20 minutes. It was a pretty repetitive cycle that didn't really accomplish much. Everyone on the roster from El Torito to Dean Ambrose suffered due to the Authority. But it was all going to come to an end, right? The problem wasn't their presence, it was just how they dominated every story. As for how it went down on TV, here we go. On the October 26, 2014 episode of Raw, John Cena appeared to discuss the Hell in a Cell encounter with Randy Orton. For context, Cena was starting to be phased out of the main event scene during this time period. He congratulated the San Antonio fans on their Spurs' victory, their title victory in June. He also discussed Brock Lesnar, and I should note he was on a very long sabbatical. This was when the Raw ratings were at a free fall. You guys remember those time periods? The Raw ratings were falling hard compared to the previous years. It was steady from 05 to 2013. It was falling, but it wasn't falling as hard as it was back in 2014 all the way up to 2016. All of a sudden, the Queendom music played, and out came Stephanie McMahon. She congratulated Champ on his victory, and she was also looking forward to the main event. That wasn't the only thing she was looking forward to, however. Survivor Series was on the horizon, and Stephanie had a business proposition for the 15-time champ. She got a little cheap heat in, taking a dig at the Spurs, and Cena responded saying that he listens to the people, unlike her. So she asked him if he listens when they shout, Cena sucks. Despite this, she wasn't out to insult him, and funny enough, the crowd loudly chanted his name. She didn't want him to be moved by one single arena, whereas the rest for years have booed and booed and booed. Basically, she thought the fans underappreciated him, and all they wanted to see was his blood on the mat, The Authority, on the other hand, actually cares about what he does. This was also to help Cena with Brock Lesnar in the impending title match. The fans loudly chanted, don't sell out. She continued trying to sell Cena on this offer. You deserve it, yada yada. He didn't care about this offer. All he gave a damn about was coming down to the ring and entertaining the fans. She was out to help Cena ensure his legacy, because when he's gone, in her eyes, the fans will remember his name, but joining the Authority solidifies his legacy. Cena's response, hell no. So Plan B came out. Triple H mocked John's statements and informed him that it gets harder. Year after year, it gets harder. Slowly, it's going to become near impossible. He can't fight the future, but it doesn't have to be as hard as it's going to get. Or he can come in here as a shell of himself and give one last hurrah as an old man. Triple H, in essence, was trying to tell Cena that he can't stop the Authority. Hell, since he's out against them, Triple H asked Cena to find some other guys to stand up against the system. Why is he saying all of this? Well, because at Survivor Series is going to be the Authority against John Cena's team. Hunter was constantly reminding Cena that the Authority is the future and that the Authority always wins. Later on, Cena was found speaking to Dolph Ziggler. Once Corporate King took notice, he was prepared to commit an act of aggression against Mr. Show-Off himself. So he booked the match for later that night. About that, Kane ended up screwing, and so Dolph was victorious. Unfortunately for him, Seth and J&J appeared and attacked. Cena managed to scramble in there and get rid of the Authority, coming to the rescue of Dolph. Now, at this point, it was basically like Cena had only one ally, and that is Dolph Ziggler. As for the main event, DQ ending. That's right. I will say, though, that Seth and Cena can't really do much wrong in the ring. Dolph ran in there to Cena's rescue, J&J got involved, but then the entire damn locker room scrambled for an all-out brawl. It was unknown what everybody's intentions were, Team Cena or Team Authority. The following week, boss man himself, Vince McMahon, made a rare appearance. It was pretty abrupt. JBL sucking up to the family on commentary, and Vince, asked the crowd, have you missed me? Now, why was he here? To show the network, obviously. But the actual reasons as to why he was here was because he wanted to raise the stakes on the Survivor Series main event. He reminded everybody of the U.S. government back in '94, WCW, the whole story with God, and he revealed his intentions. If the Authority loses, then they'll no longer be in power. The fans were salivating at the thought of this, and after the commercial break, things felt a little awkward. Triple H and Stephanie didn't really like the stakes, but didn't want to show it. So they went out and scouted talent in order to assemble the biggest Survivor Series team in history. Triple H was out to bring in Randy Orton, but Steph was on the other side of the fence. He was basically getting desperate, He realized the stakes were very high, and he wanted someone as good as Randy Orton. Later that night, Dolph Ziggler was set to compete in a match when the Authority decided to extend a little offer. Stephanie was claiming they're ecstatic about the Survivor Series match, but it didn't show. So far, Rollins and Kane were a part of their team. Triple H made it seem like he wasn't petty. I'm not going to punish you for signing with Cena. And then he told Ziggler, like, sure, Cena's team wins, but do you get any credit for the victory? No. John Cena does. But what if it's the other way around? Team Cena loses. Who takes the blame? He was trying to indicate that Cena was preventing him, Dolph, from breaking through the glass ceiling. Steph got into his head asking, where's John? He's not even in the arena. There's a lot of uncertainties in joining Team Cena, but joining the Authority, you can have anything you want. You ask, we give. And so looking at it from Triple H and Stephanie's perspective, it's a no-brainer. But in Ziggler's mind, it was about being true to himself. He shouted that he wanted them gone, out of power for good, and it basically showed that money's not everything. Sure, he can make even bigger bucks, but nothing will change if they're still in power. He's still going to be held down by the very same people. Triple H told the fans that they'll have nobody to blame but Dolph Ziggler, and he wished that Dolph won't be empty-handed, and so booked a title match between himself and Rollins. As for that match, Rollins almost won the gold, but a crazy-eyed Randy Orton cost the Architect Championship gold. Triple H was panicking and so booked Orton versus Rollins for the main event. It's like HBK in 96. They had no other choice. Without Orton, their chances at Survivor Series dwindled. Meanwhile, Stephanie went out recruiting Rusev for a Survivor Series spot. Hell, she even gave Rusev a title match with Sheamus, and Lana was starting to consider the offer. As for the main event, Orton screwed up and so let his frustrations out on the Architect. This ended up being his wrongdoing as they took him out. So Orton's out of Survivor Series. He would have been a liability. He would have teamed up with Kane, assaulted Rollins. It wouldn't have been very good for their chances at the event. Ziggler continued to get punished, and meanwhile, John Cena continued searching for teammates. Problem with this was the fact that not many were willing to go through with him. They were too scared to join the team. Zack Ryder, he wanted to join, but he was going to be out for 6 months because of an attack from the Authority. Randy Orton wanted to make a statement, and now he's gone. Despite the little setback, Cena had one name in mind that could help with the Authority, Ryback. And sure, he's his opponent in the main event, but he wanted the guy to come out and talk business. Out he came. But right when he stepped into the ring, the Authority wanted to make their mark. First of all, they revealed another member of the team, Mark Henry. Triple H outright told Cena that he was out to put the fear of God in the guys in the back, and he called himself God Almighty. He was instilling fear into the guys, showing them what kind of a stupid decision they've made, and apparently Jack Swagger is a part of the team. I don't even remember this at all. Stephanie was giving Ryback this false sense of optimism for his own career, and she verbally made him look like $1 million. And I bet if you show him this video, he's going to complain about Triple H guarantee. Cena called those two wankers and said that he doesn't care if he's got one guy, two guy, or none. Cena was trying to convince Ryback to join the team, but he whacked him. Stephanie was annoying everybody, and it was clear where Ryback was going. I mean, let's face it, the Authority is Manchester City, right? They have the funds, the power to get anybody. Also, Cena's partner, Jack Swagger, ended up getting laid out, and so he couldn't make it to the big show. Before the second hour even began, there was tension between Kane and Ryback, and meanwhile, Lana confirmed Rusev's joined the team. Luckily for Cena, there was somebody who was willing to join his group. This had to do with Henry joining the Authority, and he wanted a piece of him. It was a big show. So there's two left. Scratch that one. Dawes crept into the Survivor Series participants over Ryback. This all but confirmed his decision. He already made up his mind before the match. As for how that went down, Kane for no reason got involved and ruined everything for the big guy. Tensions flared and it escalated. The Authority attacked. Sheamus tried making a save, but to no avail. Big Show unsuccessful, but help was on the way. Ryback caused destruction, and it was clear that he wasn't teaming with the Authority. There was finally some hope in Cena's mind. And then, as the show was going off the air, it was revealed why Ziggler didn't make this save. It was because Luke Harper wanted to be a team player. On the final Raw before the event, the Authority wanted to address the impending 10-man tag. They're completely set in building the team, but they had to focus on a little issue, Ryback. Triple H asked the fans if they'd like to see the Authority out of power, and they clearly responded with a resounding yes. He called them sheep for this day, and that it's ironic how Vince was cheered nowadays, but in the past he was the evil Mr. McMahon. They follow whatever everyone else says, blah, 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 and he continued rambling on before proclaiming that Team Cena will be decimated tonight, and after that, they'll see who remains and signs the contract. Ryback then came out and stated that he's out for business. The Authority continued trying to keep him away from Team Cena despite not being a part of their own team. Stephanie even showed footage from a year ago and how Cena disrespected him then. This still didn't get him to change his mind, so he was still Team Ryback. The only person he was going to follow was himself. As for the decimation Triple H was talking about, Luke Harper took that IC title away from Ziggler, and obviously he was beaten within an inch of his life. Cena, meanwhile, was very sure of Ryback's stance towards Survivor Series. He was very sure that Ryback wasn't going to accept his offer. In other places, Stephanie, for some reason, was trying to keep Big Show from joining the Authority, and she said that if he steps away from Team Cena, then he'll join the 2015 Hall of Fame. Okay, like that's going to make me join. The fans thought that as well, and Big Show declined. Sheamus then appeared, and he straight up told her that the only way she'll ever meet the guys You know, the superstars was if her husband and herself buy a ticket. Stephanie responded with visa problems. She's like, oh, Sheamus, you got a little visa problems, and it'd be a shame if you missed Survivor Series. Then she booked a #1 contenders match between both men. It was proven to be a lie because Rusev and Mark Henry roughened up the competition. Sheamus ended up taking a World's Strongest Slam through the announce table, and what this meant was that the Celtic Warrior was out. Cena was still seeking the big guy, and it was clear that the champ was getting desperate. Big Guy, on the other hand, didn't forget Cena's words, and he was still Team Ryback. John continued getting into his head, reminding him that there's a lot to eat at the big table, you know, the main event. At the end of the night, the contract signing finally took place. The feeling from the announcers was that nobody was going to sign that contract from Team Cena, barring Cena himself. Triple H continued the promo from earlier on about Cena as a human being, and in this promo, he basically showed just how desperate they were in winning. It was eating him and his wife up inside. We won't lose, blah, blah, blah. They gave the babyfaces one last chance to back down from the fight, and out he came, John Cena alone. Triple H thought it was ironic he couldn't see the rest of the team, and the champ didn't show any doubt over Survivor Series. Stephanie was reminding him of what went on tonight. You know, your guys got their ass beat, and he still didn't give a damn. Hell, he even cut a passionate promo about wanting them out and how they bore everybody with their promos, and he said that it didn't matter if he had to pick 4 men from the crowd. And there's the Dream Team. Basically, to Cena, it was showing that these 4 men had more passion for WWE than any of the guys in the ring. He called Kane a bootleg Drew Carey. Luke Harper, when he loses, Stephanie will have a swamp in her pants. Rusev, their jaws are going to drop after he loses. Cena then said that he will have no problem feeding them sexual chocolate. He was pretty stoked about the little statements, and that leaves one person in the ring, the Architect. And after he gets his attitude adjusted, they will be crushed. And after that, Triple H's days in the WWE following this will be cleaning toilets. Stephanie didn't let John say a word, and so slapped him. And it was on. Cena had some reinforcements. Ziggler, Big Show, but then Eric Rowan joined the group. Luke Harper couldn't believe it. Cena himself was shocked but excited. Stephanie was surprised, but she reminded John that he was one man short, and Stephanie also told him that it's career suicide. And Cesaro? Yeah, no. And look at Cena. He was baited. He was trolled. All of a sudden, Feed Me More plays and Ryback appeared, and it was confirmed. An all-out brawl ensued. Cena and Rollins went back and forth. Hell, even Triple H got some. The team was assembled and they showed what they were capable of. Before the events, however, Triple H warned those guys, saying that when they lose, every single one of them will be fired. It was a devastating blow to each man. Note though, Cena himself wasn't going to be let go, of course. The Authority destroyed all 4 men to end SmackDown on top. At Survivor Series, the chairman himself appeared to reveal that the only person who can bring back the Authority is John Cena himself. Stephanie thought they wouldn't be allowed to appear on air but still call the shots in Stanford, but that clearly wasn't the case. When Vince meant they were out, he meant they were out of power. As for the main events, first of all, let me just say that this belongs on everybody's top 5, right? It just had an incredible feeling to it. Every single star going up against the Authority had a reason. Even Rowan himself, he wanted Harper. The fans wanted to see the culmination of the Authority. They had enough, and rightfully so. The St. Louis crowd was in for a bona fide classic, and right before the match, I assumed that Randy Orton was going to come back. I just had a feeling of it. We all know he went to film The Condemned. Right in the beginning, Triple H gave Mark Henry some motivational words, only for him to get KO'd and eliminated. Bada bing, bada boom. And it completely deflated the Authority's ego. The whole moment gave a feeling of unpredictability to it, and following that, Seth got his ass beat. Kane enters. Cena was in a clear rush to get rid of Kane, but it didn't work. Then Rowan and Harper enter. The match in general is full of cool moments, and I'll get into them right now. Problem with this moment was the fact that Luke didn't want none. Rowan, regardless, was craving competition. Ryback had some momentum in there, and it seemed like the Authority had yet to figure anybody out, and at this point, they got in 0 sustainable offense. Even when Rusev brought the fight, it still wasn't good enough, and hell, he even took a meat hook clothesline, almost took a shell shock. Then all hell broke loose. Seth took advantage of the official with a curb stomp. Rusev hit the kick, and it was even Steven. The match was finally in the Authority's hands. They managed to weather the storm, and sure, there was some instance like this where Ziggler had momentum, but it was quickly shut down. The team realized isolating Ziggler was the way to go. You know, tag in and out. Rusev's delivering kicks in abundance. Kane was doing sidewalk slam, headlock. He's trying to wear down the show off. He was starting to get desperate, looking for a tag, and every second, his chances of even surviving this onslaught were diminishing. Rusev was pretty rough out there. He didn't give Dolph a chance to even breathe with those blows to the kidney, those slams, and the tactic was pretty effective. Seth Rollins comes in, and all he has to do is continue being on offense. Ziggler was giving everybody a hard time by kicking out, and the fans were clearly behind him. They were trying to get him back on track. They were rallying for him, and he found a little opening and capitalized with a DDT. Then everybody ran in there and hit their signature moves. Seth was thrown out, and Dolph followed suit seconds later. The crowd was booing. Rusev had an idea, but unfortunately for him, he fell harder than Bo Dallas did in 2014. He missed Dolph Ziggler on the announce table and ended up losing by countout. Dolph made it in time. J&J forcibly tried dragging Rusev to the ring, but he didn't make it in time. So he was out. 4-on-3. Kane in the ring tried going for a chokeslam, but ended up giving way to Ziggler, who made a tag to Cena. He had loads of momentum, shoulder tackle, 5-knuckle shuffle. Hell, he even hit the AA on Kane, but Seth got involved and hit a curb stomp. Michael Cole was letting his emotions get the best of him, and then Rowan and Harper finally went at it. Rowan ended up winning the battle with a spin kick, but then Seth comes in with a flying knee, and Harper hits the spinning clothesline, and out he goes. 3-on-3. Big Show and Cena ready to fight. As Cena's getting up, boom, Big Show goes rogue and knocks out his tag team partner. Rollins swoops in and goes for the cover. 1, 2, 3. John Cena's out. Big Show sold out, and he shook hands with Triple H and decided to walk away. Oh, and I forgot, he turns heel for the 50th time. This time, though, it makes sense. Why? Well, he realized that the team essentially had no chance, and he was bankrupt in the past, so he was worried. I mean, just look at his face like 2 seconds or 5, 10, 15 seconds before the moment. It's like he didn't want to do it, but he had to in order to ensure his safety, his future. Stephanie rubbed it in Cena's face, and the one man that remained was knocked out on the outside. The crowd started to get silent. In the ring, Ziggler struggled to fight an ounce of offense. Rollins was adding insult to injury. It was horrible. But he quickly flipped the switch. Crossbody, super kick, and the zigzag to eliminate Kane. Luke Harper refused to allow him to rest and was persistent. The fans weren't getting their hopes up, but after Ziggler kicked out of a super kick and a powerbomb, there was finally some optimism. The clouds were slowly starting to disappear, and he got him with a roll-up. So now it's 1-on-1. The crowd was finally back into it. Most importantly, Dolph Ziggler's got a chance now. Seth Rollins once again aggressive, but the fans had belief. Ziggler had some fire and momentum, and it came out in an instant. Roll-up, DDT. Triple H was pissing himself. Rollins responded with a buckle bomb, but it still wasn't enough. The Architect was getting frustrated, and he started going for high-risk offense. This led to a damn famouser, and it was almost there. Michael Cole said that he's got goosebumps. J&J got involved, but it amounted to nothing but a damn zigzag. The crowd erupted. Ziggler goes for a cover. 1, 2. Triple H was getting desperate, and he pulled an Attitude Era move with that one. J&J attacked, but ended up failing, and Dolph hit another zigzag. The crowd was completely ecstatic. No ref, but when John Cone got in there, Hunter assaulted him and took liberties into his own hands. Ziggler got his ass beat and took a pedigree. All of the fans booed. He dragged Rollins onto the unconscious body of Ziggler's and called for Scott Armstrong, the corrupt ref, to come out and count the fall. 1, 2, what the hell is that? It was him. Freaking Sting. I don't know what to say about this moment. Like, if you see it in 2014, it was completely surreal. Like, Sting in the WWE, I thought he was never going to come. Like, I've heard the stories of how he wanted to come in 2002, but he didn't. It's just a tremendous moment. Definitely one of the best in the decade. He assaulted Armstrong and marched down to the ring, and just this image showed to somebody in 2013. They think it was photoshopped. The fans loudly chanted, "This is awesome." They had a tense stare down, and Triple H arrogantly struck first. He missed and took a scorpion death drop. Then the Vigilante pulled Ziggler atop of Seth Rollins as the fans shouted yes in unison. 1, 2, 3. Finally, that's it. They're gone. Dolph Ziggler was an awesome, gutsy underdog. He can easily make the crowd get behind him. It was a roller coaster of emotions, the match itself. Triple H, it's easy to hate him. He was corrupt and wanted to do things the immoral way, He couldn't count on Seth Rollins to get the job done, so he took matters into his own hands. One of the very best Survivor Series matches ever, completely, and no doubt about it. In terms of elimination matches, it's definitely my top 5. Hell, it might be in the top 3. I think it's 01, 03, and this one. Those matches, I think those are my 3 favorite elimination matches. It was just completely incredible. Produced so many memorable moments, Big Show KOing Mark Henry in the first minute. Big Show turning on John Cena. Ziggler making his comeback. They blew a 3-1 lead. And yeah, Ziggler had one of the greatest performances in Survivor Series history. Shawn Michaels, even he didn't do this in storyline, in kayfabe. He didn't come back 3-1 down and overcome the odds. But Ziggler did. And yes, it seemed like they were going to push him following this match. Once Stephanie recovered, she realized what's up and almost passed out. The fans loudly chanted, "Na na na na, hey hey hey, goodbye." Yes, chants engulfed the arena, and it was one of the best moments of the decade for sure. These guys, they were so damn annoying for a year and a half. You'd see them come out, they'd give a 20-minute promo, bury whoever the hell they were going to bury, or undermine them. Not bury, that's over-exaggeration. And yeah, it was annoying. But it finally had a conclusion. It was early Christmas. Stephanie refused to accept her new life, and they chanted, "You are fired." That image in itself was clickbait, and if you search for some weird stuff on YouTube, you're going to find it. They're liars. They made a bunch of cash off of it. She was raging as Survivor Series went off the air. Man, I don't know how you don't push Dolph Ziggler after this. How does he not become a main eventer? I just don't get it. He had the fans completely behind him, and they would have accepted him as one of the bigger guys in the company. Also, if you notice one thing with this match, if you notice Ziggler's push following this match, you'll notice it was supposed to be Roman Reigns' spot. It just makes sense to me. He got injured in September, and so he couldn't participate. But yes, it makes sense if he was going to be the final man. They didn't have anything for Ziggler following this. He fell down the card. And yeah, like, it just makes sense that it was supposed to be Roman Reigns. And yeah, that's Survivor Series. I wish Ziggler got pushed. And watching this match, I will support Dolph Ziggler in every single match he has from here on. That's it. Oh yes, I almost forgot about this. The Authority returned after 1 month. So basically, it rendered all of this useless. But if you look at it from the night after Hell in a Cell all the way up to the event itself and Dolph Ziggler kicking them out, it was tremendous. One positive in the Authority's return, that segment, it was when Seth Rollins almost curb-stomped Edge. That's all. Other than that, those guys got fired. They were really hard. It was confusing. It was annoying. Also, it transitioned into a Sting and Triple H feud, and I will talk about that eventually. I'll cover it in the channel one day. But for now, let's just think of that time period where we actually thought Ziggler was going to become a main event or a big star or something like that. So yes, what do you guys think of this Survivor Series? Please comment down below. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit an AA on the like button and perhaps the zigzag on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.